Think about this for a moment. You've spent decades being told you need to be more focused, more organized, more consistent. And every time you tried, it worked for a while, then it didn't. What if the problem was never you? Here's something that psychology has been quietly uncovering. Not every brain is built the same way. Thousands of years ago, our ancestors lived in two very different ways. Some were hunters, moving constantly, reading their environment, making fast decisions under pressure. Others were farmers, patient, routine-driven, planning weeks and months ahead. Both were equally intelligent. Both survived. But the world we live in today, the schools, the workplaces, the systems, was almost entirely designed around farmer brain thinking. And if your brain runs more like a hunter, that quiet friction you've felt your whole life finally has an explanation. Here are 10 signs that you may have a hunter brain and you've spent your life trying to function in a world that wasn't built for you. Sign 1. Boredom isn't just uncomfortable for you, it's almost unbearable. While the people around you can sit through a slow meeting or a repetitive task without much trouble, you feel a restlessness that builds quickly and becomes hard to ignore. This isn't impatience or a lack of discipline. Research on brain chemistry shows that hunter-type brains have lower baseline dopamine, the chemical responsible for motivation and reward. When stimulation drops, the brain starts searching for it. That search is automatic, and it's been happening your whole life. You probably spent years thinking everyone else had more willpower than you. They didn't. They just needed less stimulation to stay engaged. Sign 2. Your relationship with time has always felt slightly off. You know a deadline is 2 weeks away, but it doesn't feel real until it's tomorrow. You've missed appointments, not because you forgot, but because the future simply didn't feel urgent the way the present does. Psychologists call this time blindness, a genuine neurological difference in how the brain assigns emotional weight to future events. The prefrontal cortex, which handles planning and long-term thinking, works differently in hunter-type brains. This isn't a character flaw, it never was. Most people in your life probably called this irresponsibility. Science calls it a wiring difference. Sign 3. And yet, when something truly captures your interest, your focus becomes extraordinary. Hours pass without you noticing. You go deeper than anyone expects. This is called hyperfocus, and it's one of the most misunderstood traits of the hunter brain. The attention system isn't broken, it's selective. Interest, urgency, and meaning are the conditions it needs. When those are present, the hunter brain doesn't just focus, it locks in completely. The same brain that struggles in a routine meeting can spend an entire afternoon solving one meaningful problem without losing focus once. Here's where it gets particularly interesting, because what looks like struggle on the outside often contains real strength underneath. Sign 4. You've always made decisions faster than the people around you, and more often than not, your instincts were right. While others were still listing pros and cons, you had already felt the answer. Research in decision-making confirms that fast, intuitive thinking is a legitimate cognitive skill, not a shortcut. Hunters had seconds to assess situations that could mean survival or danger. That rapid pattern recognition is still running in you today. In the right moment, it's not impulsiveness, it's clarity. Sign 5. Routine, over time, quietly drains you. You may have built stable careers and consistent lives, but inside, a fixed routine starts to feel suffocating after a while. This happens because hunter brains are neurologically wired to respond to change. When the environment stays the same too long, motivation and alertness begin to drop. This is why you've probably reinvented yourself more than once in your life, not out of instability, but out of a genuine biological need for new challenge. What others saw as restlessness was actually your brain doing exactly what it was designed to do. Sign 6. You tend to think in leaps rather than steps. Where others move through a problem methodically, you jump straight to the conclusion and then find it difficult to explain the path you took to get there. Psychologists describe this as diffuse thinking, a broad, wide-scanning style of awareness. It's the same cognitive style that allowed hunters to track patterns across an unpredictable environment. In modern life, it shows up as creativity, intuition, and an ability to see connections that others miss entirely. Sign 7. Pressure doesn't break you, it often sharpens you. When a situation becomes urgent, when the stakes are high, when everyone else is stressed, you sometimes feel unexpectedly clear. This is brain chemistry at work. High-pressure environments naturally raise dopamine levels. which brings the hunter brain to an optimal state of focus. The calm, low-stimulation environment that works well for others can actually make it harder for you to think. You've probably noticed this and wondered if something was wrong with you. There wasn't. Sign 8. You read people and situations with unusual accuracy. You sense tension in a room before anyone says a word. You notice when something is off in a conversation, a shift in tone, a look that doesn't match the words. Hunters depended on this social intelligence for survival. Reading the group, understanding who was trustworthy, sensing when the dynamic was changing. These were critical skills. That same awareness hasn't disappeared. It shows up today as deep empathy, perceptiveness, and sometimes a quiet exhaustion from never being able to turn it off. Sign 9. You've taken risks in your life that confused or concerned the people around you. Career changes, unconventional choices, decisions made on instinct rather than certainty. The hunter brain genuinely processes the cost of inaction as seriously as the cost of failure. Staying still when conditions change felt, and still feels, more dangerous than moving forward with incomplete information. Looking back, many of those risks probably turned out better than others expected. Sign 10, and perhaps the sign that will feel most familiar. For much of your life, you have felt almost right, but never quite fitting. The systems designed for success, the structured routines, the step-by-step plans, the productivity methods, worked for the people around you, but never quite worked for you. And at some point, without anyone meaning to cause harm, you were made to feel that the problem was you, that you needed to try harder, focus more, be different than you naturally were. It was never you. You were simply given a map designed for someone else's brain and told to wonder why you kept getting lost. What psychology is increasingly telling us is this: hunter brain traits are not disorders. They are adaptations, a cognitive style shaped over thousands of years of a completely different kind of living, one that modern structures haven't fully accounted for. Understanding this won't change everything overnight, but it changes one thing that matters deeply: the way you understand yourself. Because when you stop trying to fix what was never broken and start working with the brain you actually have, something shifts. The friction doesn't disappear, but it finally makes sense. And sometimes that understanding alone is enough to change everything.